So in today's video, we'll talk about the shift and unshift array methods. Now, if you know about them, well, you've been around for quite some time, because shift and unshift are actually siblings of the pop and push array methods, and they more or less behave the same. So I've already covered pop and push in another video, you can check up top, but here let's go over the shift and unshift. So what do they do? So we're going to start with unshift because it has a similar functionality as our push array method. So if you want to add an element at the beginning of array, we would use unshift. If we say here array.unshift and tell here, well, we want the number 17, you'll notice if I run this, I'm going to get 17, not at the end as push would do, but at the beginning. And that's kind of useful in some cases. Now, as I've said in the push and pop videos, basically you can provide as many arguments as you want with push, right? The same you can do with unshift. So I can say here 17, 3, and I don't know, minus 100, right? And if I run this, if I get this out of the way, you'll notice I get these three elements in the same order I have actually written them down. So this is a bit more peculiar than the push array method, because it all of a sudden took all those three arguments and just copy and paste them at the beginning of the array. That's fine, but with push it was the same thing but at the end of the array. But you notice a difference? With push that was valid, right? The first argument would be pushed at the end. After it, the second argument would be pushed after the first element has been pushed, and so on. In here, it's actually backwards, because, well, we don't unshift 17, right? Because if we were to unshift for 17, we will get, well, let's say this is our array, right? So we have these four elements. If we, for example, have started with unshifting 17, we will get here 17, and then, well, the function would be like, okay, well, I have a second parameter. Here I have 3. So I'm going to unshift 3. And then go, okay, 3. There you go. That's unshifted. That's added at the beginning of the array. And then last parameter, minus 100. Sure, why not? We're going to just add it. As you'll notice, this is not the result that we're getting. We're not getting minus 100, 3, and 17. We're actually getting 17, 3, and minus 100. And that's a bit strange. I don't know why they chose to go with this, but that's how it works. If you truly want to get every single parameter unshifted at the beginning of the array, make sure you either provide actual individual calls, or you create an array, reverse it, and then destructure it. That's a way of doing it, by the way. Now, as with the push array method, you can have a second array here, right? And I have here, let's say, all these numbers, 17, 3, and minus 100, and you can just push it using destructuring. So if we do array 2 here and actually add the parameters from here to here and then call it with our array 2, you'll notice, well, that's not really what we want. We get the array inside of an array, so that's nested arrays. That's not the desirable output. We want to actually get elements inside the array, right? So we have to destructure this. So we can just destructure it because the unshift array method actually takes in as many parameters as you give it. Now, if you want to actually keep the order of the parameters, so you don't have to unshift every single one of them, right? So first we unshift 17, and then before it is going to be 3, and then as the first element is going to be minus 100, you have to reverse this. I'm going to call a method that we haven't covered yet, which is called reverse. And this guy is going to just simply reverse the array. If I run this, you'll notice we get the kind of expected result, right? We first unshift 17, which gets here, then we unshift 3 and goes behind the 17, and then we unshift minus 100 and gets behind the 3, right? So that's sort of a more desirable output. Now, as a last thing to cover here, the second array method for this video is called shift, right? Shift, what it does is simply is the exact same thing as pop, except you get the first element instead of the last. So let's say you want to get the first element. What you would do is say let lm equals array.shift, and that's it. And if I paste in here the element and our array, you'll notice I get, well, the array with only the last 3 elements and the first element as a simple just inside our variable lm, right? So it definitely takes in the first element of our array and also removes it, which is really nice. So as you can see, it's basically the same as pop. That's why I said that shift and unshift is basically the same thing as push and pop. The only difference is that they work with a different side. Push and pop works with the end of the array, right? So the end of the array, and then shift and unshift works with the beginning of the array. So if you want to have control over both of them, this can be achieved using all these 4 array methods. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you have any questions, do leave them down in the comments below or on our Discord server. Thank you guys so much for watching and see you next time. Take care. Bye.